NBC Sports presents the 1987 National League Championship Series. Today from Candlestick Park, the St. Louis Cardinals versus the San Francisco Giants. Brought to you by Miller Brewing Company, sole sponsor of the U.S. Olympic Training Center. By your Toyota dealer in the '88 Toyota Camry. Toyota quality. Who could ask for anything more? By AT&T, the right choice. And by Valvoline High Performance Motor Oil, where motor oil is not just motor oil. Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully, along with Joe Garagiola. Welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 5, with the Cardinals and Giants even at 2. Certainly, the Giants have not really surprised anybody. They're doing what got them here, turning double plays and hitting home runs.
And the Cardinals, I think the only flash of the Cardinals that we've seen all year was when we saw guys go from first to third. They really have not been running, but when you look at it, you wonder if they've been in position to run.
Well, last night, for instance, the last 5 innings, they had a base hit in every inning, and there wasn't even a chance to steal a base.
No, you look at it, Coleman with 1 out, and then McGee hasn't been running. Pena hasn't been doing that much. So today they'll have to go against Russell. We should see a lot of ground balls. He's tough in this ballpark.
Well, another thing, no matter what happens because of last night, there will be a Game 6, and immediately that brings up the question, will Jack Clark finally make a start? Remember, going into the game, Whitey Herzog said, if we can get to Game 6, then I'll feel better because I'll have Clark back.
And with Game 6 on the horizon, you think about Game 5 and you say, well, if the Giants win, they come back with Dravecki, but the Cardinals will have Tudor. So this is really a thinking 2-game game.
Indeed it is. The winner, of course, will get on the airplane 1 up with 1 to go. And, of course, if it's the Cardinals, you figure that they're the favorites going home. We'll wait and see. It's Rick Russell and Greg Matthews. We'll have the starting lineups and all the pregame stats and stories all coming up right after this. What's that old saw about everybody talks about the weather and nobody does anything about it? Well, at least we can look at what it's doing. And as you can see, this will be the windiest game, at least at the outset, of the 3. It is also the one game played at 1:30 as opposed to the local time of 5:30. So we're going to start with a 20-mile-an-hour wind and 70 degrees. The Cardinals trying to fly in that wind, and it'll be Vince Coleman, Ozzie Smith and Tommy Herr, Dan Dreesen and Willie McGee, along with Terry Penelon. The one surprise, John Morris will be in right field instead of Kurt Ford. Tony Pena behind the plate, Greg Matthews the pitcher, and on the mound, Rick Russell.
And the defense pretty much the same. Leonard, Davis, and Maldonado. There you see the infield, friendly behind the plate, Russell a pitcher. Wind seems to be blowing to right field, and those Giants were really hitting a lot of balls in the right field seats. Left-hand hitters, right-hand hitters, waiting on the ball, going the opposite way.
Rick Russell, you can see what he did in Game 1, a 13-game winner during the regular year. When he became a Giant, he had a record of 4 wins and only 1 loss here at the Stick. And that was a August 30th game where the Mets beat him 5-3, and he gave up his only home run as a Giant pitcher. It was a grand slam to Gary Carter. 1 ball and no strike to Vince Coleman. The big shock with Coleman are not those numbers, but here we are in Game 5. He is 0 for 1 in stolen bases. And he hits it to left, and it was shading to the line, and Leonard a diving try, but it goes to the fence. Chili Davis retrieves, and Vince Coleman has a double. So with Leonard shading him to the line, he found the gap.
They were stacking that defense that way. Chili Davis was over in left center field, but he just plugged that gap perfectly. You can see the effort by Jeff Leonard, but he didn't come close.
Number 1, shortstop.
So Vince Coleman starts the Cardinals in the right direction as he doubles into left center. Now Ozzie Smith, Tommy Herr, and Dan Dreesen try to pick him up. And the bunt by Ozzie, Coleman heading for third. And the throw in the dirt, dug out nicely by Will Clark. Boy, that could have been a lot of trouble and a run.
Yes, sir. It looked like he didn't have a good grip on that ball, almost to a palm ball. Ozzie Smith, although bunting for a sacrifice. Now watch how he throws. He didn't even have a good grip on it, and it's a sinker, and Clark makes a fine play. They would have really had the start of a big inning.
Batting third. Number 20.
So Will Clark saving a miscue by Rick Russell, and they are playing the infield up in the first inning with 1 out. Because the Cardinals, of course, have not scored a lot of runs, and they're up with Tommy Herr. Remember, during the regular year, Tommy Herr had 12 sacrifice fly balls, the most in the National League. He had an opportunity in the series to get one and didn't do it. And he is struggling with the bat, hitting 125. So Tommy Herr given a chance to give the Cardinals a jump. On deck, Dan Dreesen. You rarely see the infield up in the first inning with 1 out.
It's a tribute to both pitchers. Of course, the Cardinals not scoring runs. They're going to choke them off as soon as they can.
Ground foul outside of first, and the count 1 ball, 1 strike. Rick Russell at age 38, the National League's 9th oldest player and the 4th oldest pitcher.
They got a sign out in right field. It fell down, Vin. I think that the umpires are calling time now. Eric Gregg finally spots it there. You see it right in front of Marischal's number.
We showed those discs in the first game. It is the Hall of Fame here for Giants. The name and the number of the illustrious players: McCovey, Marischal, and Mays, Hubble, Ott, and Terry, and then Mathewson and McGraw. No numbers. Back in those days, they didn't have numbers. History, all part of every ball club and the great part of the game.
Yes, sir. They played a highlight film. Everybody really enjoyed watching Giants of old.
As you can see, the pitchers have more RBIs than anybody else. Danny Cox and Greg Matthews together have 3. All right, 1 ball and 1 strike to Tommy Herr. Another foul ball, and the count 1-2.
Russell's a tough guy to get that fly ball because he's a sinker ball pitcher, keeping that ball down, and he's in pretty good shape. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Tommy Herr with 2 strikes. During the regular year, strikes out not very much, about 12% of the time. 1-2. Checked, and it sailed inside. No swing, says Ed Montague. And the count 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Headed in a good spot. He stopped it. Good call.
So it's a big moment with only the 3rd hitter in the game at the plate. Tommy Herr trying to get Vince Coleman home from 3rd. Russell watching Coleman. And there it is, the drive into left field. Going over to left center is Davis. Tagging up is Vince Coleman. So Tommy Herr does what he had done so well during the regular year. He gets the fly ball to get his man home. Interestingly, too, Joe, excuse me, the teams that have scored first have lost 3 of the 4 games.
I started to say, Vin, that was really good hitting because that was not an ideal pitch, but Herr knew what he had to do, and he really got the job done because Russell placed it in a good spot, and Herr went to the opposite field and gets the big run in.
Now here's Dan Dreesen, 1-0 in favor of St. Louis. Ball 1, 1-0. The one game where the team that scored first won, of course, was when Dave Dravecky pitched their 5-0 shutout. A bouncer to Clark, and Will takes it to the bag, and the inning is over. But not before the Cardinals get a run. And at the end of half an inning, Cardinals 1, Giants coming up. Here's the way the Giants stack up offensively. Robbie Thompson leading off at second base. Kevin Mitchell at third. Jeffrey Leonard in left field. Candy Maldonado in right. Chili Davis in center. And Will Clark at first. Bob Brenly behind the plate. Jose Uribe at shortstop. Rick Russell, the pitcher. Trying to stop him, Greg Matthews.
Here's the defense. The big change is Morris in right field. Everything else stays the same. Matthews on the mound. And then, if I might, during batting practice, the Giants really had a purpose in what they were doing. the things I noticed is they were waiting on the ball, even though it was Fahey pitching, hitting to the opposite field, crowding the plate more to try to take away that pitch that Matthews was laying on the outside corner. And I look for Uribe to try to beat out some bunts today.
All right, we'll file that away, as we also file away the fact that Matthews struck out 7, so the Giants were unable to wait on the ball the first time they faced him. Robbie Thompson to lead it off, and it brings up a point about the Giants. Last night, the Giant lineup was without Candy Maldonado and Chili Davis. That's 44 home runs between them, and yet, without them, they had home runs by Brenly, Thompson, and Leonard. So they can hurt you from almost any quarter. 1-1. Robbie Thompson against Greg Matthews, a 25-year-old from Southern California. Ball 2. Matthews this year had the honor of pitching the home opener. Earned his first win of the year against the Mets middle of April, but was optioned out to Louisville. And he's behind again. He's worked into the 7th inning in 17 of his last 25 starts, and he led the club in strikeouts. He averages about 3 walks a game. That's in there. Gregory Inman Matthews, born in Harbor City, California. Won 10+ games in his first 2 big league seasons. High.
Ball clubs always hate that base on balls, but especially, and there's so many factors in that first inning, when you come up with a run, that's when you want to shut the other ball club down and send them a message, hey, we're going to shut you down. We're starting off with the base on balls. Not a very good sign.
Whitey remembers that when Greg Matthews pitched against the Giants in St. Louis, he walked only 1 batter. The man he walked was the last batter he faced in the game. And now he walks the first man he faces. Strike. 0-1 to count to Kevin Mitchell. Mitchell with 4 hits in the series. Was aboard. He was at second base last night when Jeffrey Leonard hit it out.
He took some extra batting practice, Mitchell, because they felt he was kind of jumping at the ball. They wanted him to lay back a little bit more.
0-1 to count. And there goes Robbie Thompson, and what a jump he had. There's not even a reason to throw.
He just didn't even look at him. He forgot about him. He had to forget about him, or at least he acted that way, because he was in his motion when Thompson broke, and you can see it. Look at here. He's almost looking at him. And Thompson broke, and away he goes.
Another interesting point about this series. Would you believe the Giants have stolen more bases than the high-flying Cardinals?
That is unbelievable.
So the tying run at second with nobody out. 1 ball and 1 strike. Half swing on that change, and he's angry. He couldn't lay off it. It probably looks like a basketball.
It does, but I tell you, they've got it in mind. And Matthews, if he can do what he did in St. Louis, will be very tough. But these Giants at least are saying to themselves, we have to wait. But you can see Mitchell couldn't wait.
One ball and 2 strikes. The count to Kevin Mitchell. Cardinals lead 1-0 in the first inning. Line drive down the left field line. Base hit. Here comes Robbie Thompson to score on a long single by Mitchell.
Mitchell, who the work with Morales really paying off, waited on it, pulled it down the line, a breaking ball. And Ben just hanging around that cage. Roger Craig, of all his players, singles out Mitchell as his hum baby.
Well, he's got him humming here. And Zimmer, no doubt about it. The question was whether Mitchell was going to go for 2 or not. And Coleman got it in a hurry. And Thompson breezes in. 1-1. And Jeffrey Leonard at the plate. I don't know if that was a pitch out because it was so slow. It wasn't much of a pitch out.
It was a bad pitch out because Pena got way out there. I'm surprised on the first pitch the way Leonard is hitting. You think they'd at least give him a chance to swing that bat.
1 ball and no strikes. Mitchell going, and the pitch swung on and missed it. He wind up He never even looked over there.
They're getting such a jump on him. They've got him read perfectly. It's almost like they're saying as soon as he does this, take off, and there's nothing that Matthews can do. Watch him now. Right there. He's not even coming close to holding him on. And I tell you, he is really flustered, and they're going to have to slow him down.
Whitey knows one thing about the temperament of Greg Matthews. When Matthews was the substitute for Danny Cox, first of all, he didn't realize he was going to pitch that day, and he played 18 holes of golf. Came to the ballpark loose and relaxed, and they gave him the ball and said, "You're pitching," and he pitched a gem. However, he has known for a couple of days, and particularly last night going to bed, that he was going to pitch a big one today, and in an unfriendly ballpark.
And they're really zeroing in and doing the one thing that really upsets a ball club, because the stolen base is the man's legs against your pitcher and your catcher's arms, and the Giants are winning it by so far it's ridiculous.
Not even a good throw. No chance. 1 ball, 1 strike. 1-2. So for Greg Matthews, perhaps a moment of truth here in the first inning. He's going to have to settle down. He's going to have to watch the runners and somehow get out of the inning. And the Giants trying to push him over the edge. With a day off tomorrow, Herzog said before the game that he would use anybody today as far as his bullpen is concerned at any time. 1-2. Leonard followed by Maldonado. Time. So Coleman doubled, and the fly ball by Herr got him home. Thompson walked and stole, and Mitchell single picked him up. 2-2.
Tommy Herr really looked upset when he came into that conference there. Like, you know, you got to know what's going on out there as far as those base runners, because, I mean, they had like 6 and 7 steps, almost like he was looking at him and still throwing to the plate.
2-2. Ball 3.
They're not going to let Leonard get a ball he can handle. I mean, I'm sure that's the instructions, but you never know.
Give you an idea, Jeff Leonard has 4 home runs and 13 at-bats. Willie Mays in 65 postseason at-bats had 1 home run. High fly ball into right center. McGee fading over. Tagging up is Mitchell, and Mitchell's going to go to third. Relay by Ozzie, and he holds on to it.
Jeff Leonard reached outside to hit that ball to center field. And as soon as that ball was hit, I was watching Zimmer, and he's motioning Mitchell go back and tag up. What he banks it on is that when that throw, although Ozzie cut it off, there was no play for him, but he figures that ball is going to hit there, and it's not going to skip off like it does on the artificial surface. So he picks up a big base.
So 1 away. Kevin Mitchell at third base, and Candy Maldonado, who did not play in last night's game, coming up. 1-1 tie. And a tiebreaker 90 feet away for San Francisco.
Be interesting to see if he follows his instructions of up the middle or to the right field side.
Off speed for a strike. It is also interesting to look at the Cardinal infield. Now, on that first pitch, the infield was pretty much back. Remember how the Giants defensed the Cardinals? They brought him right up, but Herzog keeps his infield back. 1-1. On deck, Chili Davis.
Morris in right field, not too deep. McGee in center field straight away.
1-1. And that's driven down the left field line, hooking in the corner, foul. Matthews 11-11. 0-2 against the Giants, 1-2 lifetime, and of course picked up the big victory in game 1. Right side of the infield has come up a couple of steps now, and time called by plate umpire Jim Quick. Mitchell at third, and a 1-1 tie in the first inning. Boy, they have come out of the chute.
Yes, they have.
Got him, and a perfect pitch inside part of the plate. So he set him up on the outside and then drilled him 2 down.
That's a good piece of pitching, because the fly ball gives him the run, and he needed to strike out. He went out and got it, and he just froze Maldonado, no doubt about it.
When he makes a pitch like that, you can understand even though he's not an overpowering pitcher. Why Greg Matthews led the club in strikeouts. Now Chili Davis.
Davis is the consensus as far as the players. If anybody's going to get the extra base hit off Matthews, it'll be Davis, because they talk about the home runs that he hit during the regular season off the off-speed pitches.
Well, he had 24 home runs. He had 22 doubles and a triple for good measure. And he bangs it in the gap. Willie McGee on the run, flags it down. So the Giants leave Mitchell at third, and we're off and running at the end of an inning. The Cardinals won, and the Giants won.
There is Mike Rourke talking to Matthews, and you know what he's talking about is holding men on. At least hold the ball. He was looking right at him, but, man, there's a lot of things running through that young fella's mind. He realizes the importance of the game. It's a big game, all the hype, what have you. But Mike Rourke trying to get him to be himself. He's going to have to do a better job than he did in that first inning.
Willie McGee, Terry Pendleton, and John Morris, and that's a strike to Willie. 0-1. McGee with 4 hits in his 15 at-bats, but no stolen bases, which is not too much a surprise since he's had the bad hand and bad leg. Down he goes. When you ask Whitey Herzog about the lack of a Cardinal running game, he shakes his head and scratches his crew cut. And he said, I don't know. He said, Coleman and Smith, they have the green light to run any time, and yet they're not running.
Any time is right. I mean, he doesn't play by any situation. You think you got to jump? Go.
Terry Pendleton coming up. Pendleton coming back to the lineup last night. Switch hitter, batting left-handed, and followed by a left-hand hitting John Morris. That sounded like a cracked bat. Line drive out to Uribe. 2 down. John Morris playing right field, and it would be a very logical question to say to Whitey Herzog before the game, why Morris to replace Kurt Ford? And Whitey again kind of rubbed at the stubble on his chin and said, I don't know.
You think, Vin, that's a page out of KC's book, that he's got a reason, but he's just not telling?
Maybe it's just a hunch, and he didn't want to actually put it into such a word, but he's playing it. One thing about Morris, he did have a pretty good game against the Giants in July. He was 2 for 4 with a home run and 2 RBIs. It's a little fly ball to left field, and Leonard right there. So a very easy second inning for Rick Russell, although as a sinker baller he had 2 balls hit in the air, and it's 1-1. Up here they call it the city. Herb Cain, the brilliant columnist of the San Francisco Chronicle, once called it Baghdad by the Bay, but by any other name it is the magnificent city of San Francisco. And the pictures provided by the Goodyear blimp Columbia from Los Angeles. The pilot, Captain John Creighton from Redondo Beach, California. The last time a Goodyear blimp appeared at a Giants postseason game was 1971 in Pittsburgh.
Last time they had that big World Series here, it rained so much. Remember, they had helicopters on the field trying to dry it up.
That's the one thing. They haven't really had any rain here since March. And they would like to have some rain. 1-1, bottom of the second inning. Will Clark, Bob Brenly, and Jose Uribe. Greg Matthews and Rick Russell. Will Clark with big numbers. He had big numbers during the year. 35 home runs, 91 RBIs. Pulled that breaking ball foul. You have to have a really quick bat to go get a breaking ball down and away and jerk it around like that.
He was doing that in batting practice. It looked like he was going to pull everything, and finally he just kind of regrouped. He said, well, I got to get back to my stroke, and he hit one to left field and then pumped 2 of them out in right field. He's just a good hitter. As soon as he picks up the bat, you know he's just got a hitter written all over him.
Clark hit the ball hard against Greg Matthews in St. Louis. Chasing a breaking ball. He lost a hit on a fine play by Tommy Herr. singled, stole a base against Matthews, and then grounded out against him. 0-2 to Will Clark. Wouldn't chase that breaking ball. No swing, says Ed Montague. It's Jim Quick behind the plate. Bob Engel at first. John Kibler at second. Ed Montague at third. Dave Pallone down the left field line, and Eric Gregg down the right field line. 1-2. Big breaking ball. That's all he got, and down he goes. Second strikeout for Greg Matthews, and it'll bring up Bob Brenly, who was having trouble making contact in the league championship series until last night. Danny Cox pitching in a 3-2 game, and Brenly took him downtown to make it 4-2.
He said that Matthews had him wide in his strike zone, and he said he just kind of messed him all up. He said finally the guy said, hey, try to hit strikes, and he said he thought yesterday he was back in the groove.
Brenly struck out twice against Matthews in St. Louis. Long foul. 0-1. In the 9 times where he failed to get a hit, he struck out 6 of those 9. 1 ball, 1 strike. On deck, Jose Uribe. Ball 2, 2-1. Before the ball game, they played a lot of music here at Candlestick, but the most appropriate song of all was by Stevie Wonder, Moving On. And that's the song today. When this one's over, we move on to St. Louis. Ball 3.
It's unlike Matthews to get that high, and Mike Rourke comes out of that dugout, and he's howling already. You know, go out there. Go into that pitch.
3 balls, 1 strike. Walked in, man. Rourke, like a father looking at an anxious child, pacing around in front of the dugout, trying to help without actually making an official move to the mound.
What he was trying to do was to get him to go into that pitch. He's kind of throwing straight up, and he motioned to him, and all pitching coaches have just little signs with their pitchers.
One thing that Mike Rourke believes in, most of us, when we see a pitcher in distress, we feel that it is front leg, that it is maybe he overstrides or opens up. But Mike says most of the time the trouble starts with the back leg, and he was trying to get Matthews to get a little more rhythm with his left leg, the one that has the foot on the rubber, and it hasn't happened yet. Now Brenly steals on him. You know the Giant plan for sure. Although Brenly isn't bad, he stole 10 bases during the regular season.
And he's checked in with Fay, all right. He's going to have to just hold the ball if he doesn't want to upset himself too much. I'm talking about Matthews, and freeze the runners by just holding it.
And if they're going to put a hit-and-run play on with Uribe, he doesn't strike out very often right-handed, so he is a better chance, a better risk, although he is certainly not a strikeout hitter anyway. Jose Uribe. And he runs well, so it's a pretty good combination. And then for good measure with 1 out, you have a good hitting pitcher on deck in Rick Russell.
He's got a good lead. First move he may go. He's drawing throws. That's how far over he is.
I wonder if Roger Craig wasn't playing a little psychological game after stealing 2 bases in the first inning. At the end of the inning, Roger went out and talked to Jim Quick. And he might have been saying, now look, we've stolen a couple of bases on him. Look for the balk. Compensation by the left-hander. And he just got back. What he did was split the rubber, a side saddle hop, and almost got Brenly.
Brenly was trying to get a walking lead. He's still moving. Now he's got him leaning, and I tell you, if the throw is down, he's got him. He just barely makes it. If the throw is down, he's got him.
Well, the thing that made the play close was also the thing that made the play a busted play. Throw back, and again Brenly is there. When he split the rubber, he couldn't stride. He couldn't get much on the throw.
But he had enough on it to where Brenly was leading. You're right.
Yeah.
But I tell you what it did. It was an effective play because even though he didn't get Brenly, he cut his lead down by 2 steps, and Pena's trying to help him by throwing over there.
1-1 tie. Second inning. One away. Brenly at first and drawing yet another throw. So Matthews, after being lectured to by Mike Rourke, is now going to try and concentrate on the runner. What a switch. The Cardinals concentrating on the Giant runners when going into the series you certainly thought it was going to be the other way around. Brenly's going, and it's probably hit down the left field line. Foul.
Well, he about told everybody in the ballpark he was going with the lead, and Matthews trying to hold him. And once again, now Brenly, a pretty good jump looking back because it is a hit and run play. And he's going to take off round second, but pulled foul.
When you saw Greg Matthews make that delivery to the plate, did you notice how much of a knee action he gave with his right leg? That's why they're running on him. If he drags that foot and kind of stiff legs, the runner can't run. But when he bends it and brings that right knee up as high as he has been doing, they are really exploiting that move.
And he's also very slow delivery to the plate.
Big chopper to third. Pendleton at the bag. Down to her. And late to Dreesen.
That extra kick he gives, Vin, I think is what you're really talking about in there. When he pulls it up, if he just came up with the leg, it'd be one thing as we watch that double play again. Hurd does a good job of avoiding Brenly, but he kind of gives it an extra bend, and that's the extra 5 steps they pick up. But the Giants do have one play where they take a big lead to draw a throw, and then on the next play, they got that big lead in the first move. They break because they figure a pitcher's not coming over more than once.
Interesting study, Greg Matthews and Rick Russell. Because Matthews, who raises that leg and is so slow and deliberate coming to the plate, Russell is one of the 2 top right-handers, I think, in the National League in holding runners on. The other would be Ed Lynch, who used to be with the Mets and is now with the Cubs. Eddie is very tough. 1-1 tie, second inning. Russell in his career has had 4 home runs and 70 runs batted in. He can swing the bat.
Roger Craig says he gives me 180%. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, he feels his position. He can bunt. He can hit. He helps himself besides pitching.
Uribe with 16 stolen bases, but it's doubtful he'd be going with 2 out and the pitcher up there. 0-1. The manager's nightmare is to have the pitcher leading off an inning.
Clog it up.
0-1. 1-1 tie, bottom of the second. Uribe stole 16 bases during the regular year.
Now when he comes to first base, especially with that shot, Vin, you can see he doesn't kick his leg up quite as high.
Oh, and 2 the count to Rick Russell. In Russell's game against Matthews, he was 0 for 1 with a sacrifice.
You can really tell when he's coming to first base because he just doesn't give it that extra kick. And when he's going to come to the plate, he'll get the leg up and then give it a little bit of a bend.
Yeah, he bends the knee much more when he's coming to the plate.
Right home.
Like there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Russell goes down on strikes. That's 3 strikeouts for young Greg. The Giants leave a man at the end of 2. It's a 1-1 tie, and we'll be back after these messages from your local station. Game 5 of the 1987 National League Championship Series is brought to you by Acura Legend and Integra, precision crafted automobiles exclusively at your Acura dealer. And by the Prudential, going above and beyond to meet your needs in insurance and other financial services. We told you at the start of the game the wind was 20 miles an hour, but this is now a candlestick wind, and there is nothing quite like it in baseball. It is swirling black and orange balloons, shredded pieces of paper, and you can see the wind has moved up to 22 miles per hour.
And it's kind of almost eerie when you see it. It was only along the third base line. Right field, no problem at all.
I remember, and I think about it often, Sylvia Fine, the wife of the late Danny Kaye, wrote about the bassoon, and she said it was an ill wind that no one blows good, and that also applies to the wind here. The first one a strike. The bottom of the Cardinal lineup, the number 8 spot, has really been something, with Pena, Lawless, and Ford occupying the number 8 slot in the lineup. The Cardinal spot is 5 for 11 plus 3 walks. Change it and make it even higher. So Pena starting to hit the ball crisply now. And in a 1-1 tie, it'll bring up Greg Matthews. Matthews, in the game he pitched in St. Louis, showed that he can handle the bat. He had 2 sacrifices plus a base hit for 2 RBIs.
But you see Clark in there setting up the bunt. You've got to look bunt from him all the way.
And one of the key plays of last night was the inability of Danny Cox to get the bunt down. If you remember, when Will Clark charged, slipped and fell, but caught it on his knees. Clark is coming, and that's ball 1. Well, they really put the squeeze on because Kevin Mitchell is coming from the other area.
Oh, they're right in tight on him, and you can see Clark constantly looking back. They have a play there, and the key to it is that Russell, if the runner is stopped, fine, deliver to the plate when you guys are breaking in. But if you see him moving, you have to back off that rubber because they're charging very hard.
1 ball and no strikes.
There goes Clark.
Now back to live, and the bunt is down but foul, and the count 1-1. And Clark, each time after making a mad dash to the plate, stops, goes to the mound, and looks over at Roger Craig, and then he gets a sign and tells Russell what he's going to do.
That's one of the over 25 signs that he has. Roger Craig really controls his ball game, and you can see there he is.
1-1 to count to Greg Matthews. Matthews was around to bunt. Mitchell starts the play 10 feet in on the grass, and coming along with Clark. Full swing and a blooper to center, base hit. How do you like that one?
He really performed it well, too. I mean, he squared around, and there's nothing that'll scare an infielder more than to see a guy do that. And he had a line drive. He hit that ball harder than the base hit in St. Louis.
Boy, we certainly have a scouting report on Greg Matthews. He can handle that bat. He had 2 sacrifices, a base hit in the first game, and he just takes Russell into center field for another base hit.
Tell me about proper balance in the batter's box and keeping your weight back and all that. He was squared around the bunt and just used his arms and didn't swing too hard, and now he's got something going.
So the Cardinals are in business. Runners at first and second, nobody out. The batter is Vince Coleman, and Robbie Thompson is now heading for the mound to talk over possibilities and probabilities. They both, Robbie and first baseman Will Clark, checking, and the Giants are looking for the bunt again.
Took a page out of Brenly's book by hiding what he was saying, but with that chew of tobacco, you couldn't tell anyhow.
Coleman, in his leadoff role, only sacrificed 5 times this year. Hits it off Russell's glove, and the bases are loaded. So it is Herzog who gambles and gets a single from Matthews, and in another bunt situation, he has Coleman swing away and single.
And swings down on the ball to get the ground ball, and Russell, who is a good fielder, can't come up with it, and the Cardinals have their attack going. I mean, it's not a real cannon attack, but when you look up, the bases are loaded, nobody is out, and you got your second, third, and fourth place hitters coming up.
You remember the Cardinals exploded for consecutive hits. They've had strings of 5 and 4, and now they have 3 in a row. And there's a fly ball into center. Chili Davis is there, tagging his Pena. Chili for the catch, and Pena will score. And it is 2-1 in favor of St. Louis. Ozzie Smith picking up the RBI. So first and second with 1 out. It is 2-1 Cardinals, and the batter will be Tommy Herr, who had a scoring fly ball in the first inning.
Second baseman, Tom Herr.
Ed Montague, look at him making sure that Pena tags up and leaves after the catch. You can't get any closer to a play than that.
No, he lines himself up with the outfielder and the runner, so he's got them both in the line of sight, and he was right on top of that play.
Well, here's Tommy Herr. struggling with the bat in the league championship series with just 2 hits and 16 at-bats. 4-1.
Vin, if there's anything that typifies the Cardinals, it would be Ozzie Smith's time at bat. He sacrificed in the first inning, instrumental in the run scoring. Sacrifice fly here in the third. No time at bat, but yet figures very prominently in the 2 runs. They do the things that are necessary, the basics.
The number 2 and 3 hitters still looking for an official at bat. Because Herr had the scoring fly ball. 2-1 St. Louis. 3rd inning, 1 out. As Pena singled a left, Matthews fooled the Giants and singled to center, and then Coleman singled off Russell's glove. Then the fly ball for the go-ahead run. 2 balls, no strikes. Sinker hit down to Robbie Thompson. He goes to Uribe, and there's the 10th double play by the Giants in the league championship series.
And Coleman really did a job of dumping Uribe.
4-6-3, and it is 2-1 St. Louis.
Here's that last double play. Now, Robbie Thompson has a little trouble, but watch how far out of the baseline Uribe gets, and yet Coleman is able to dump him, but not before Uribe gets rid of that ball. As a base runner, he's supposed to be able to touch second base somehow, some way. I don't think Coleman was even close to it.
It immediately brought to mind the protest in the American League involving Bill Madlock and Tony Fernandez of Toronto, saying that Madlock went out, and when you saw that, he was maybe a foot away from touching the bag. Coleman was somewhere in the suburbs.
Yes, he was.
So it is 2-1 St. Louis, and we go to the bottom of the 3rd.
Here's the move now by Matthews. Now look out where his leg is right there, and he's going to come to first base. Now that's just one of the ways. Now watch when he goes to the plate what happens. Now he gets the leg up and then bends it back. See how far back it went? And as soon as that happens, boom, they're gone.
We go to the bottom of the 3rd inning. The Cardinals 2 runs, 4 hits. The Giants 1 run, 1 hit. And it'll be Robbie Thompson, Kevin Mitchell, and Jeffrey Leonard against Greg Matthews. So Matthews has certainly helped himself with the bat in his 2 appearances in the LCS.
Leading off the
Robbie Thompson walked, got a big jump to steal second without a throw, and came home on the single by Kevin Mitchell. Off speed for a strike. 0-1. The breeze swirling around, and for the moment anyway, it would indicate that it's blowing from right to left, but don't bet on it. 0-1. Fouled a bunt away, and the count 0-2.
Ideal conditions to bunt. I mean, as far as the grass is concerned, but you have to pick the right pitch. That was not that real off-speed pitch that Matthews throws.
The infield grass here is really worth a second look. It is remarkably thick and tall, and as you can see, mowed so properly that you have lanes. But boy, when you really get close to it, you'd be surprised how deep it is. It's almost U.S. Olympic rough. 1 and 2. U.S. Open rough. Fly ball to straightaway center. Willie McGee is there. The wind playing with it a little. 1 down. Kevin Mitchell coming up. Singled and stole a base in the 1st inning. Picked up a run batted in along the way. 2-1 Cardinals. 1 out, 3rd inning.
Kevin Mitchell.
On deck, Jeffrey Leonard. 1-0 the count. Two balls and no strike.
Got to believe that's the hardest one he's thrown right there, Vin.
I'm a little surprised. We saw Mitchell get a base hit to center on a 91-mile-an-hour fastball. He's pretty much of a fastball hitter, and yet Matthews is challenging him. 2-0. Little change on the corner. 2-1.
85. His fastest was 86.
Two balls, one strike. Foul ball. 2-2.
The radar gun tells you something, but I thought that statistic that you had yesterday told more than anything.
Elliot Kalb, our statistician, came up with, I think, the finest point on any pitcher in any game we've seen in years, and that was Danny Cox in the 70-pitch line. And he should really be commended for that. On the fists and hit foul off to the right, out of play. But it was remarkable. You pointed out 70 pitches and Cox gets into trouble. You point out when he's made his 69th pitch, and the game began to fall apart right on cue. Interesting, too, last night as we see Danny Cox, with Danny Cox and Mike Krukow going the distance. First time that's happened since Game 2 of the American League Championship Series back in 1982. Keeson and Vukovich went all the way. A drive into left center and deep. McGee with the shades down at the wall. Gone. Interestingly, 9 home runs is not the mark of a winner. The last team in the National League Championship Series to hit 9 home runs, the Chicago Cubs in 1984 against San Diego. But Herzog has been caught on the home run by Mitchell.
Ball looked like it was up. Out over the plate, he went and he got it and pulls it. That's just sheer work by Kevin Mitchell, who just came out for a curtain call. He was having trouble hitting the ball. He's been taking extra hitting, and the thing that they wanted him to do was not to jump at the ball. Obviously, his work has paid off, and as I said earlier, Roger Craig, it's almost like his teacher's pet. He says, he's my hum baby, because when he hurt his thumb, Vin, he wanted to put him on a DL, and Kevin said, I don't want to go on a DL ever. He said, I really have to be hurt to go on a DL, and a bad thumb's not going to put me there.
He's had a big year, had 22 home runs, 15 as a Giant, and now comes up with one to tie up the game at 2 apiece. Jeffrey Leonard now coming up. Timeout. They had to retrieve some papers and balloons blown out onto the field. So here's Leonard. Fly to center in the first inning. It was deep enough to get Mitchell to third, but the Giants couldn't pick him up. Ball 1.
Once again, Matthews can't give his ball club that psychological lift of shutting down the other ball club when your club scores.
And they have the veteran Bob Force backing him up immediately. Ball 2.
I just started to say Mike Rourke has a saying. He's don't give up a run until you get a run. I don't know what it means, but he says that.
Well, that's what he's done.
That's
the
what
Cardinals
he's done.
got a run.
Exactly.
They gave it up.
Yeah.
It's 2-2 in the third. 2 balls and no strikes to Leonard. A roller wide to third. Pendleton is there. That ball seemed to sail. You see, Dreesen was set and kind of hesitated. The ball sailed a wee bit on him. 2 down. That'll bring up Candy Maldonado, who struck out in the first inning in a 2-2 tie.
Matthews has been behind every hitter in this inning. 2-1, 2-0, 2-0.
That's remarkable, although you kind of expected all that. But who would have expected the Giants have stolen 4 bases to the Cardinals 2? Big change way out in front. 0-1. On a crystal clear day at Candlestick, another huge crowd. Last night they set a baseball record crowd, 57,997. It would appear to be impossible to get any more in here. High drive, hooking foul down the left field line, out of play. And of course, when we were in St. Louis, they had the largest crowd to ever see an event, period, in Busch Stadium.
I'm sure Jose Morales is on the bench, the Giant coach, saying that's not the way he swung in batting practice, because he had him really bearing down, going to the middle and right center, and he's just pulling everything.
Just missed inside. Remember, he struck him out with a pitch on the inside part of the plate. He tried to do it again. That's Mike Rourke telling him, get that knee up.
Back leg.
Right.
Push off.
Little fly ball into shallow right. John Morris is there. But the Giants get a run on a home run by Kevin Mitchell. And at the end of 3, we're all even at 2 as the fog rolls around. Right now, here's a look back at a very special Olympic moment. When the Giants left Coogan's Bluff and the old Polo Grounds in New York at the end of the '57 season, they came across the country to San Francisco and began their new existence in Seal Stadium. And then in 1960 in April, they opened up Candlestick Park against the St. Louis Cardinals and won the game 3-1. And when the park was opened, as you can see, it was also open. And then they enclosed it, as it is today, in 1987. Meanwhile, there's another crash course for Greg Matthews.
But Gene Gieselman is in that. I just wonder if something's wrong with Matthews, because Whitey's in it talking to the trainer, Gene Gieselman, as Mike Rourke and Danny Cox just kind of listen.
He's acting as if there's something wrong with his right leg or foot. He seems to be indicating when I land, it hurts. And Force continues to throw in the bullpen, so we'll see about Greg Matthews. Ball 1 to Dan Dreesen.
There's Mike talking about that back leg to push off. Push off. That's where it starts.
2-0 the count to Dan Dreesen, who grounded out in the first inning. Dan 0 for 1.
Tell you try to help him, but if you have to change your swing at the tee, it's too late.
Oh, yes. What pressure. 2-2 tie in the 4th. That's fouled away. Danny Dreesen, the man without a club in the beginning of the year, finds himself now a very important part of the Cardinal story. 2-1. High pop fly back a third down the line. The shortstop Uribe.
Every pop fly is an adventure today, I'll tell you. It's a little bit of cloud or smoke or fog or whatever, but that sky is pretty plain up there, which makes it tough. And then with the swirling winds, it is an adventure.
So 1 down, and Willie McGee, the batter. McGee grounded to short in the 2nd inning. 0 for 1. Mike Rourke is going all the way down to the Cardinal bullpen to find out for himself about Bob Force. So it could very well be that was the problem that Greg Matthews was having. They told him what to do, and he was physically unable to do it. So now, having talked to Dave Ricketts in the pen, he will now carry the message to Force. And from watching Bob Force, it would appear Greg Matthews will be unable to continue. Good pitch, off speed. McGee frozen at the plate, 1-2.
I wonder if that was what Brenly calls his batting practice fastball. He throws one, and they just seem to take it all the time.
And he promptly hits this one into shallow left center, and Chili Davis will have to play it on a bounce. So McGee, a little flare for a base hit, and the batter will be Terry Pendleton. The preliminary report we get on Greg Matthews, a strained quadricep. So I would think that Greg gave it his best shot, and he'll have to come out even 2-2. And of course, for Whitey, with only 8 pitches, to lose one to injury, he is really having a bad run.
This would be an ideal spot for Willie McGee to get something started. They have not been running. Brenly is always checking with Roger Craig.
Russell, as tough as there is in holding runners. 0-1.
Watch Russell's front leg and try to keep in mind when we showed you what Matthews was doing. Russell hardly picks it up. Craig doesn't feel like he needs pitch outs, although he does use them. But with Russell, he holds them so well because he unloads the plate so fast.
1 ball and no strikes to Terry Pendleton. In the Giant bullpen, Joe Price perhaps just getting in a little work, but he's loosening up. 1-0. As you look at your picture, you see it's bobbing and weaving. What's happening is the wind has picked up and is actually moving the camera and the platform. It is now 23 miles an hour, and for the first time in the 3 games, you get a feel of Candlestick Park.
And umpires and players stay busy really trying to don't be a litter bug. They're picking up everything. Wrappers, they just keep blowing out the stands.
1-1 to Terry Pendleton. McGee, pretty good lead. And enough to draw a throw. And just got back. McGee during the regular year stole 16 out of 20.
Be a good time for him to pitch out.
Still 1-1. Thinking about the wind moving the camera, the classic was the All-Star game when the wind just made Stu Miller sway and he was charged with a balk. And Art Spander, one of the columnists here, said that the wind actually blew a piano over at home plate one night. That's wind. I've seen it move the batting cage.
Well, that one picture, I forget who the player was, it just blew his hat right up against the right field fence and never touched the ground.
Ed
going from
Lynch.
the mound. Ed Lynch.
Blew it all the way to the center field fence. So we got a 23-mile-an-hour wind. It could be a factor. 2-2 in the 4th. McGee not going. Ball 2. When Whitey appeared a little perplexed before the game, and he was saying, I can understand McGee not doing too much running, but I'm still waiting for Coleman and Ozzie to run. Two and 1 to Pendleton. On deck, John Morris.
Watch this, though. McGee's got a bigger lead than he had the last time. I've got to look for him to go.
He's trying to lengthen it. That's as far as he's gotten, and you can tell by the light soil. There he goes on a pitch out that swung on and missed. They got McGee hung up. Robbie Thompson to Will Clark to Jose Uribe, who tags him out. I tell you what surprised me about the entire play, the fact that Pendleton swung at a pitch out.
Well, he had a hit and run play on, I guess, Vin. He had to throw that bat, but I tell you, it was so far out there.
That's against the Herzog theory. He always says to his hitters, hey, if it's a hit and run and it's a strike, knock the heck out of it. But he said if it's a pitch out, don't swing. So Pendleton violated a Herzog theory, and meanwhile McGee is hung out to dry.
But you could see him really lengthen it, and Roger Craig, I think that time I could read with Roger Craig what he was reading because he was way out there.
2-4-3-6 if you're scoring, and that's inside. Since Rick Russell has put on a Giant uniform, he has not allowed a stolen base to anybody.
Just to get back to that Herzog thing, he really eliminates the hit and run. It's run and hit.
That's right.
I mean, he doesn't want to hit and run, but that particular play, when they put a hit and run play on, you got to try to get a piece of that ball, which he tried to do, but obviously it violated what Herzog says.
He preaches to not to swing. And now there's the base hit into right center, and the Giants trying to run it down, and it has fought its way through the underbrush and gotten all the way to the fence. Pendleton with 2 out is heading for third on a bad ankle, and he made it. Barely.
He ran hard, but when he got around second base, he was paying a price, and you can see him getting up and kind of try to loosen up a little bit. It was a bit painful. He was running hard as he rounded first, got to second running hard. And that ball to get through there really has to be stung because it is high grass. You can see it slowing down. Maldonado finally runs it down. And that play at third base was very close.
The fine relay by Robbie Thompson, the Giants' second baseman. And here's how close it was. That throw is right on his tail.
And Mitchell had to make sure he caught that ball. And he goes down with the tag. Pendleton's taking a little bit of time at third base because he had to pay a price.
He's saying, please, just a second. And understandably, playing left ankle, which he injured here on the off day.
Right fielder, John Morris.
So Pendleton triples after McGee is nailed on a pitch out. And here is John Morris with 2 out, trying to pick him up and break a 2-2 tie. Ground ball wide to Clark. Overhands to Russell, who drops it, and the run is in. From the first day of spring training, they practiced that play, and it pops up to haunt the Giants in the LCS.
I just wonder if the rhythm was broken, Vin, by the fact that Clark goes overhand rather than showing him the ball and scooping it and kind of giving him an underhand toss. Now watch what happens here. He's got plenty of time. Oh, he just dropped it, and he's reaching for the bag. He was not at the bag. He didn't get there at first base, and he just drops it. Nothing wrong with the throw. He's on the receiving end.
So once again, the Cardinals jump out in front. The Cardinals led 1-0. Giants tied them. Cardinals led 2-1. Giants tied them. And the Cardinals now lead 3-2 on the error charge to Rick Russell. And the batter will be Tony Pena. But before Pena, the plate umpire, Jim Quick, going out to the mound. And let's watch.
I think it's blowing in your hands. Would be, oh, he wants some extra pitches because he might have jammed it when he was catching that ball.
And he might have stuck a finger in it. Yeah. Here comes a beach ball. No timeout for that.
Jim Quick has turned into everything. He's just a regular old high-class right picker there. Look at that win.
Yes, Candlestick, here you are now in all your glory. The flags get to an angle where they're almost blown straight up. Yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. But still, at 70 degrees, it's almost tropical. 2 down, 3-2 Cardinals. Morris at first, and Pena trying to move him around. Right. John Morris didn't play an awful lot. He wound up stealing 5 out of 7. And Pena has been hitting the wall sharply of late. 0-1. In the dirt all the way to the backstop. Morris takes a look, but they'll hold him at second. Nick Leyva had the stop sign on before he even got to the bag.
It looked like a breaking ball. Brenly is set up there way outside, doesn't quite get out there, and the ball goes actually over his glove and right past his elbow. And here's a spot where I'm sure that well, he got forward in the on-deck circle because of Matthews' injury, so you'd have to work on Pena.
Show you how frustration can go from dugout to dugout. This is a perfect inning for it. McGee thrown out on a pitch out. Then the triple by Pendleton. Then the error by Russell. Foul ball into the seats off to the right, 1-2. Joe Price still throwing in the pen. And from the looks of things, Bob Forsch will be Whitey's pitcher when the Giants come up in the bottom of the 4th. 3-2 St. Louis. So the dean of the staff is getting ready. 2 balls, 2 strikes. On deck is Curt Ford to bat for Greg Matthews. So that really makes it official that Matthews is unable to continue. Two down in the inning, a run over, and the Cardinals leading 3-2. Up Pena, leaves Morris at second, but the Cardinals get 1 run, 2 hits, and an error, and a man left. The end of 3.5, 3-2 St. Louis. The Cardinals make 2 switches, and as you look at Curt Ford, he is certainly wearing an appropriate number, 27. This is his 27th birthday today. So he gets a chance to celebrate in right field. On the mound, Bob Forsch, who is a little bit older than 31. That's the number he wears.
And I tell you, you really have to feel for Whitey Herzog. He makes a decision before the series to go with 8 pitchers so he can have an extra man that paid off when he could use Lawless. But Cox gets hurt. He can't use him, although he did use him later on. And now Matthews, he has really had to make some moves.
And the Cardinals leading 3-2, and Bob Force pitching to Chili Davis, who promptly greets him with a base hit to right. So now it's the Giants' turn to come back, and it has been that kind of a day ever since Coleman opened up with the double. Will Clark will be the batter. Force got the victory in Game 3 for the Cardinals. He did not have a decision during the regular year, and his career he is 7-8. That's against the Giants, of course. All right, 3-2 Cardinals. Tying run aboard for San Francisco, and here's Clark, who struck out in the second inning. Right, 1-1.
Force is a good athlete. He's got good stuff. Doesn't overpower you. Moves the ball around. Really a good fielder, and he's got a better than average move. He'll hold you close.
37-year-old right-hander has spent his entire big league career with the Cardinals. 14th year. There goes the runner, and there's a ground ball by the diving Greason. So Chili Davis is on his way to third.
Both managers using the hit and run or run and hit, break up that infield and get people going. That ball was not hit hard, but in the right spot.
So Bob Force comes in to replace the injured Greg Matthews, and the Giants try to light him up on back-to-back singles.
Greason gave it a good attempt, just didn't come up with it, and by the time it got to Ford, Davis was on at third.
First and third, nobody out, with Brenly, Uribe, and Russell due up. Brenly walked in the second inning. Backhanded by Pena, 1 ball and no strikes. Zimmer hollered to Brenly to get his attention and then went through the sign. Let's see if they are putting a play on.
No, I wouldn't think they're trying anything tricky in this spot. Man, nobody out.
Especially Clark, who is not a good base runner. Ball 2. So Bob Force comes in, and the Giants are after him on back-to-back singles, and he's 2-0 to Brenly. Uribe, the switch-hitting shortstop, on deck. And they're going to get somebody up in the Cardinal pen in a moment. Right, 2-1. So a storm signal is up in the wind. Ricky Horton. Horton, along with Daly, are the 2 left-handers to come out of the Cardinal bullpen. 2-1. Runner going, and the pitch is fouled away, so they put a play on.
Can't believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they're going to say, well, want to break up the infield, but you got nobody out in the 4th inning, and to chase a pitch like that, now he's 2-2, he's 3-1 if he takes it, and it was way outside.
Well, it looked like something was up when Zimmer kept hollering for Brenly to look at him, and even Brenly acted like, I can't believe there's going to be a play. Yeah, now it's 2-2.
That was 3 pitches ago. I'd look for something now again, and I'll tell you.
It's too late. They've already put it on. Will Clark stole 5 bases and was caught 17 times during the regular year. He's not going anywhere. Shot foul right between the legs of Don Zimmer. Almost got his right ankle.
I tell you, both these managers, wheels are spinning. He may have headaches from managing.
Cardinals 3 runs, 6 hits. Giants 2 runs, 4 hits. We're in the 4th. Two and 2. Clark not going, and the breaking ball missed. Now with a full count and Brenly up, you start looking at the numbers. During the regular year, Brenly only grounded into 5 double plays. It's not many at all for a catcher.
Well, I tell you, if you're Pena and he puts a hit and run play on, you got to look for Clark to go.
So 3-2. Let's see if they play run and hit. They're going to try and run him back. Naturally, run and hit. Brenly's not obligated to swing at ball 4. Clark at first. Chili Davis over at third. Cardinals leading 3-2 here in the bottom of the 4th.
Big pitch. Could be strike him out, throw him out, or bases loaded. Big pitch.
Clark is going, and it's fouled away. You know how you can tell the leads here from a high look down on the infield? What they do is wet the infield dirt down before the game to keep it on the field. Otherwise, it blows into the stands and soils the clothing of the customers. So that topsoil is dark, and where the light area is, that's where all the leads have been taken by the runners. So you have a pretty good idea of the maximum lead a runner can take just by looking at the discoloration of the ground. 3-2. Clark goes. Ball 4 to load him up.
Just trying to break the mood. That's all he's trying to do. I tell you, we got a dandy here, and they'll have looks like another dandy tonight in Detroit. Ben, they had a beauty. 8 o'clock, a big day here on NBC.
It's a great league championship series in 4 cities. And now the Giants have the bases loaded, nobody out. The veteran Bob Forsch forced to come in when Greg Matthews could not continue. Bob Forsch, one of the great names in Cardinal history. It's right up there with Musial and Haynes, Gibson, Brock, and Shane Dean. But he's up to his hips in trouble. Uribe hit into a force play in the 2nd inning. Chili Davis at third. Will Clark at second. Bob Brenly at first. Uribe followed by Rick Russell. Uribe sacrificed 5 times this year, 4 left-handed, if you're thinking any kind of squeeze. Instead, it's a base hit into right. In comes Chili Davis to tie. In comes Clark to take the lead. And there are runners at second and third.
The throw by Ford was high. Nobody could cut it off. It allows Uribe to go to second base, and you eliminate that double play. It's so true. Outfielders keep big innings alive more than any other position. Now watch when Ford gets the ball. He tries to throw it all away. He's got no chance. Nobody can cut that thing off. Dreesen tried.
So now Roger Craig is going for a bundle against Whitey Herzog. Because of that throw with first base open, Rick Russell is coming out of the game. With runners at second and third, Craig will send up Mike Aldretti to bat for Russell. It is 4-3 Giants. Bob Forsch has given up 3 singles and a walk. So that's one time, I think, where a throw from right field knocked the pitcher out of the game.
I tell you, it's been said so long that outfielders, by throwing to the wrong base, can keep the inning alive. And you see what happened here. Whitey's going to come out, and we're going to see some right and left and right and left and hit and runs. I mean, the wheels are spinning.
Here we go. It'll be Ricky Horton who will be brought in to pitch to Mike Aldretti. Aldretti immediately turns and walks away. So we'll see if there's another hitter for Aldretti. We'll be right back. Bob Forsch pitched to 4 hitters, gave up 3 singles and a walk, and goes out losing 4-3.
Here's that throw again. He's got to hit the cutoff man, and you watch Dreesen jump up. I mean, that throw just keeps it going. There's no chance for him to get it.
Mike Aldretti against Ricky Horton fouls it away. With first base open, they are pitching to Aldretti, and he has been downright dynamite all year with men on base. With men on base, he's a .400 hitter. And he has men on here. Bob Brenly at third, Jose Uribe at second. Boy, what a game. Doesn't make any difference what team you're rooting for. This has had it.
This is baseball. This is the way they play it on Sunday afternoon when you play those pickup games. Last time at bat, very important.
So the Cardinals have led 3 times, and the Giants are now leading for the first time today. 1 ball, 1 strike. Good breaking ball. 1-2. As you can see already, pay the pitcher the professional compliment. He nodded as if to say yes. Good pitch. Ricky Horton, the third pitcher, and Whitey is really in trouble in that area. He only has a couple left. Fouled away. He certainly has Todd Worrell and Ken Daly. Those are his 1-2. But anybody else is very questionable considering the fact he has to keep Tudor back to pitch on Tuesday.
He only started with 8 for the team picture as far as the LCS was concerned.
1 ball and 2 strikes. The count of Mike already. Nobody out. Fouled away. In the inning, Chili Davis singled to right. Will Clark singled to right, sending Davis to third, and Brenly walked. And Uribe singled to right to drive in Davis and Clark and give the Giants the 4-3 lead.
And the key play won't even show up in the box score.
The throw from right field. 1-2. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Robbie Thompson to follow, and then Kevin Mitchell. And we're only in the 4th. Two balls, 2 strikes. And that's hit into left field. Coming up is Coleman. The wind blows it. He makes a great recovery and catch, and Brenly scores. He thought he might have a throw, and then he was lucky to catch it.
He was very fortunate on that because that wind swirling, forget the flags, how they blow. Now, the ball is sliced by the left-hand hitter. Now, Coleman comes in. He figures he's got to play, and then, oh, look out. And now he makes a tremendous play because he reaches back with that big glove. You see it here. He knows he's in trouble right there. And I tell you, that could have been disastrous.
It's a classic case of why Candlestick has been a nightmare for visiting teams especially. So it is 5-3 San Francisco. Robbie Thompson the batter with Jose Uribe at second base and 1 out.
Roger Craig says we don't know what's going to happen, but it's out there waiting, and you almost saw it.
Ball 1. Thompson walked, scored a run, and flied to center. So Herzog saw his team jump out in front 3 times, and the Cardinals unable to hold the lead. And it is 5-3 San Francisco. 1 ball, no strike. And Uribe to third. The throw by Pena. He's in there.
He had a big jump, and I'll tell you, you hear Vince Coleman, who's the big base stealer, say how easy it is to steal third, and one of the reasons is for some reason pitchers don't give you that close a look, and with the right-hand batter up there, Pena has to throw over him. There he throws behind him, but he can't get that much on it, and Uribe is in easily.
So the Cardinals have the Giants steal 3 bases in 4 innings. Against a great running team, the Giants have given them a dose of their own medicine. And the 1-1 pitch to Thompson outside. He is a great squeeze bunter. We pointed that out early in the series in the first game. And he tried to squeeze in a run on a pitch out and couldn't do it. And with Uribe at third, look out.
They just tried to pitch out, and Pena looking at his manager Herzog once again. The infield has to come in, and Zimmer really acting it out with Uribe.
They put the squeeze on with Robbie Thompson 8 times that we know of last year. Uribe's not coming. Foul back. 2-2. 2-1 is the ideal count for the squeeze play. So now that he has fouled it off, that was a big decision in itself to let him swing away. The Giants have a very unorthodox attack.
Oh, you can't predict anything. Situations mean nothing. The book that they talk about all the time, that was burned with the library.
2-2. Uribe's not coming, and it's fouled away. Putting the hit and run play on with Will Clark going and Bob Brenly at the plate. And then having Uribe come up, and you immediately think, well, I know there's nobody out, but he's such a good bunter, they might try to put the squeeze on with him, and he singles to right for a couple.
And you can't take for granted with 2 strikes that he's not going to put it on with this guy in there.
No.
He's getting a walking lead.
We're just watching Uribe. He's the one who's going to tell us. Uribe retreats. Ricky Horton off the rubber and just kind of look back at him.
And Thompson's out of the batter's box. I guarantee there was a play on, Vin, because when you back out, that's telling the coach, put it on again or tell me something.
It was good enough to put it on the first time. They sure might come back with it. Watch Uribe. He is not coming. And a drive into right and sinking for a base hit and going to the wall. Robbie Thompson is on his way for 3, and he is in there.
With the pitch, as you can see, he knows it's in the gap, and he lets out right here. He knows he's got at least 2. He made up his mind right there. I've got 3, and Zimmer really motioned him on and told him to stand up.
All 4 runs scored in the inning belong to Bob Force. The Giants now lead 6-3, and the infield must play up with 1 out and a runner at third. And there's a strike to Kevin Mitchell. Kevin Mitchell, the 7th man to come to the plate in the inning, and he has a single and a home run. Fouled away, 0-2. 1 out in the inning, and that was Aldretti's fly ball. It was almost blown over Vince Coleman's head.
And I tell you, the way the Giants have been playing, running, squeezing, hitting and running, all that works on the concentration of a pitcher. And all those plays, the threat is almost as good as the play itself.
The Giants, a strong club with so many weapons, are certainly in the driver's seat now, leading 6-3. And Roger has used most of those weapons already. For Herzog, the worst kind of a game he can get into, where you have to pinch hit and use a lot of pitches. 0-2. Smothered by Pena. Otherwise, another run is in.
I tell you, he's in such dire straits that if it's a blowout, he might have to use Oquendo, even if it is a league championship.
Yeah, he's been saying that for several days. I might be forced to use him just to save somebody.
That was a good play by Pena. No, certainly don't want to overlook that. He got down and knocked it down. But Whitey's got handcuffs on him right now because he doesn't have that much pitching.
1-2 the count to Kevin Mitchell. 2 singles and a walk, then a single and a scoring fly ball, and then a triple. And more streamers come out on the stands in right field. And Eric Gregg is out there trying to win the good housekeeping seal of approval. And the win.
I'll tell you, Eric won't have to put rocks in his pockets to keep him blown away. He's a big man.
He's the right man to go out there. In the enthusiasm, of course, papers, streamers, balloons, and then, of course, all the hot dog wrappers just to add to it.
The wind is so strong it snaps that paper, and they got to go out and retrieve it.
The wind at Candlestick. The first 2 nights, if you've never been here, you just didn't see the ballpark in all its glory. But today, we're getting a taste of it. And the Giants are reveling in it, leading 6-3, as is this huge crowd. So Ricky Horton, the 3rd pitcher, trying to get an out, the infield up, Robbie Thompson at 3rd, and the Giants leading by 3 here in the 4th inning. On deck, Jeffrey Leonard. Sometimes you get the feeling he's on deck every inning. Fouled away.
When you talk to Whitey about who would be the pitchers if you got a blowout, he said it would be Forsh and Horton. Those were the 2 guys. Forsh is out of the game. He's got Horton there, and in hopes that he can stop it because again, his pitching staff, he's in tough shape.
And it certainly wasn't a blowout. They were leading 3-2 when they brought Forsh in. Fouled away. Greg Matthews was leading 3-2. Came up with a bad leg, a strained quadricep, and Force was pressed into service, and he didn't have it. And now Horton shouldering the burden of Thompson at third, 1 out. The infield up on a 2-2 count to Kevin Mitchell. Fouled away. Was anyone who saw the Cardinals come back down 4-0 will not count them out.
No way.
One of the great comebacks in League Championship Series when they were down 4-0 and came back the other night to win 6-5. 2-2. High fly ball in the wind, and that's questionable just where it's going to wind up. Foul untouched. No way Pendleton could catch up to it. It was bobbing and weaving like a cork on water down there. So it's still 2 balls and 2 strikes.
It's a tough play for Pendleton under just ordinary conditions. He tries to play it, kind of drifts away from him, and he also has to be a little bit leery of the mounds here, because both on the left field line and right field line, the pitching mounds, they're built up, and that really makes it tough when you're chasing the ball and all of a sudden you go right into that mound. And he had a big injury from a bullpen mound. There it is.
Well, the wind is blowing those flags and make them crackle out there in center field. If Mitchell gets one up, 2-2, he pops it up, and let's see, Tommy Herr or Dan Dreesen. Dreesen. So Mitchell unable to pick up Robbie Thompson. 2 down, and Jeffrey Leonard coming up. Leonard flied to center and grounded to third. He's 0 for 2. On 4 hits, a walk, and a stolen base, plus a scoring fly ball to turn it around, and the Giants lead 6-3. But we're in the 4th inning with 2 out. On deck, Candy Maldonado. So Leonard is the 8th man to come to the plate here in the 4th. Right, and a huge beach ball, which would knock you over, is going to hit Dan Dreesen. Wow, where'd that come from?
Man, he's standing there. He didn't know what hit him. Dan didn't know what hit him. He came up from behind. He's bearing down on the batter, and all of a sudden, boom. Now watch what happens here. Now he had no idea.
You never know what's going to come blowing out of the stands. Old love letters, due bills, summonses. Poor Dreesen was startled almost out of his uniform. 0-1 to count to Jeffrey Leonard. 1-1. 6 runs, 6 hits. And for the Cardinals, 3 runs, 6 hits. 1-1. Big chopper foul down the line, 1-2.
In pregame, I think that Bob Gibson, the Cardinal great who broadcast back to St. Louis, was the most interviewed fellow on the field, because they kept saying, how would you pitch to Hackman Leonard? And Bob finally had to leave. He said, I don't know, but I think we have a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I do too. 1 ball and 2 strikes to count to Jeffrey Leonard. 2-2. With that strong wind in center field, our cameraman holding on to that camera, trying somehow to keep it quiet. The wind raising havoc with that camera exposed out there. Leonard has had very good success. There's our man on the bridge. Bad weather in mid-North Atlantic. Leonard in his career hitting .400 against Ricky Horton. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Got him, and he changed up, and Leonard way out in front of him. However, the Giants send 8 men to the plate and get 4 of them home. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. A lot of football being played today on NBC. Here's some NFL scores for you, including some finals.
Looking at those scores and a lot of football games being played. I don't know how much football is being played then.
There's one overtime.
Look at 6-0 too.
Yeah. And those are the games still in progress. Joe Price, meanwhile, picks up a Rick Russell. So right now, the Giants do not have a pitcher of record because Russell, as the starter, did not go the required 5. Matthews has nothing to do with it. For the moment, Forsch could be the loser.
And Russell only made 43 pitches, and looking ahead, he could come back Wednesday night if there is a Game 7.
Jose Oquendo will be coming up to bat for Kurt Ford.
Pitching for Ford.
Oquendo, a switch hitter, batting 167. He was 1 for 6 in limited play. And Joe Price going to work. Strike. So it's Oquendo, Coleman, and Smith. And of course Price will turn all the switch hitters around. They'll have to go right-handed. One ball, one strike. Cardinals led 1-0. Giants tied. Cardinals led 2-1. Giants tied. Cardinals led 3-2. Giants lead 6-3. Fly ball into shallow right field. Robbie Thompson calling, and he and Maldonado have a collision, and Maldonado is okay.
Now they'll have a little meeting and say, did you hear anything? He said, no, if I'd have heard anybody, I wouldn't have tried to make the play. Maldonado, it's really his ball, and he comes in, and down he goes. Good thing he wasn't running full steam. Robbie Thompson would have come up on the short end.
That's what happens again up here. It started out to be a pop fly that was going to be maybe 15 feet out on the grass. And then Robbie called immediately, but then he started to back, and so Maldonado picked it up, and you have a collision. One down, and Vince Coleman, the batter.
Vince Coleman.
Coleman has doubled and singled, scored a run, 2 for 2. Left-hander Joe Price in his career 5-2 against the Cardinals. Ball 1. Joe Price, another big fella, he's 6'4". He started the year at Phoenix and was recalled the 5th of July after the big Chicago 7 trade. 3-0.
That's what makes managers squirm right there. 3-0. Try to keep the ball in play, keep it in the ballpark. You can't defense that base on balls. You got a 3-run lead.
Right, 3-1. Vince Coleman trying to generate something for St. Louis, down by 3 here in the 5th inning. And another strike.
Taken all the way. Of course, that's what Vince is trying to do, because with his speed, he could turn a walk into a triple. I mean, the fact that he's 6'3" doesn't mean he's not going to run.
Interesting, Joe Price made his major league debut in 1980, pitching 6 strong innings against the Cardinals. Popped up. Will Clark fighting the glare and the wind. Stays with it. 2 down.
When that ball goes up, I mean, it's a ticket to Disneyland. He has to shade his eyes. It's a great shot of how he's got him shaded. And right there, he wasn't too sure. Now he's got it. Glasses down, shade his eyes, and tiptoeing through those tulips.
Ozzie Smith sacrificed and had a scoring fly ball. So he hasn't had an at-bat yet. Fouls it away, 0-1. 2 out in the 5th inning, with the Giants leading 6-3. On deck, Tommy Herr. Good off-speed speed pitch. Wow. You know, 2 years ago, Joe Price tied a National League record in relief. He struck out 6 consecutive fills.
That last one looked like the left-handed version of Kruko. That big lollipop curve that he threw. Took something off.
0-2. Right back with a little smoke in the count 1-2. For the Cardinals, with a half a dozen hits today, 2 extra bases, a double and a triple. Got him. So Joe Price comes in and restores order, and immediately, and at the end of 4 1/2, the Giants 6 and the Cardinals 3. A look at the Bay Bridge, Treasure Island, and the Pacific Ocean yawning as far as you can dream. And the city of San Francisco. Pictures furnished by our Goodyear blimp.
Right fielder, Candy Maldonado.
Bottom of the 5th, Candy Maldonado, followed by Chili Davis and then Will Clark. 1 ball and no strikes to Candy. Struck out and flied to right, 0 for 2. Almost had his wrapper knocked off in a collision with Robbie Thompson, but he's okay. 6-3 Giants in the 5th. Base hit up the middle. When you watch Ricky Horton deliver, he pitches somewhat like a mechanical man. There is a definite stop and go in his delivery. I would think that in a windup, at least, maybe not out of a stretch, but in a windup, he looks like he's fairly easy. See how he stops, kicks, stiffens, and then delivers?
But he's almost like a dart thrower when he throws it. It's not a real fluid delivery with the arm. He kind of dart throws it, so I would think he'd be a little sneaky if you were in that batter's box. But I'll grant you, Vin, that you could probably time the way he does stop in certain spots in that delivery.
At least out of a windup. So now the batter is Chili Davis, and they'll keep an eye on Maldonado.
Almost caught him sleeping.
Maldonado is a break-even base runner. 8 stolen bases, but he's been caught 8 times, so you know base stealing is not his strength. Chili Davis, switch hitter, batting right-handed, and he has better numbers from this side of the plate. But a hopper to Pendleton, down to her, back to Dreesen, and just like that, double play. The Giants have come up with 10 double plays. Jose Aquindo, the 3rd outfielder, Kurt Ford, John Morris, and now Jose. So with 2 down, here's Will Clark, struck out and single. Looking ahead for the Cardinals in the 6th inning, Tommy Herr, Dan Dreesen, and Willie McGee. If anybody gets on, Terry Pendleton. And that's driven to right and deep. Oquendo to the track, makes the catch in front of Willie Mays. Or at least in front of Mays' side. Clark, angry, thought he was going to hit it out. But again, he got a little topspin, and he hits a sinker out there for an out.
Oquendo right in front of Willie Mays, but then you and I both know nobody ever caught that ball in front of Willie.
No, if it was up there, Willie was going to catch it. A reminder, the American League Championships continue tonight. We bring you Game 4 of the series. Detroit's Tiger Stadium, the Tigers' Frank Tanana against Frank Viola and the Twins. Coming up next, and it'll all begin with Major League Baseball, an inside look. The Cardinals this year had 51 come-from-behind victories. And they had a pretty good record, 9 games above 500 against left-handers. So as they go into the 6th inning, they're down 6-3. And Tommy Herr hits one to the hole, knocked down by Robbie Thompson to get him.
You know that's one of the things Roger Craig told his ball club, because if they regret one game as that one they thought they had won, as we look at this replay, Robbie knocks it down, knows who's running, takes plenty of time and gets it.
So 1 away, and Dan Dreesen the batter. Dreesen grounded out and popped to short. Dan 0 for 2. Remember the pitcher's spot. Hits number 7. You have the right fielder batting 9th. So if the Cardinals got anything going here in the 6th inning, Ricky Horton would be coming up and they would hit for him. Down in the bullpen, Ken Daly loosening up. 0-1. You know, just to complicate matters for Whitey Herzog, he was saying before the game today that he did not think he would have Jack Clark to play in Game 6. He said if Jack Clark could play in Game 6, I would have an inter-squad game tomorrow. But he said, I haven't heard a word, so I assume Clark is unable to play and consequently will not be able to start in Game 6 at Busch Stadium. And of course that conceivably could be a backs to the wall situation for the Cardinals. Fly ball to center and shallow. Davis coming over. 2 down.
Whitey kept saying all along, if I could just hold on till Game 6 when I'll have him, but
it just hadn't worked out that way for him. So with 2 out in the 6th inning and the Giants leading 6-3. Pretty quiet Cardinal bench as Willie McGee comes up. Grounded to short, single to center, 1 for 2. Tuesday night in St. Louis, Dave Dravecky and John Tudor. Fouled away. Six runs, 7 hits, 1 error for the Giants. 3 runs, 6 hits, no errors for the Cardinals. Tommy Herr, Tony Pena out of their windbreakers. The non-players bundled up. 0-2. Of course, one of the big stories, and there are many today, was Greg Matthews straining a quadricep and unable to pitch, leading 3-2. He had to come out, and Forsch couldn't get anybody out, and the Giants scored 4 to take the lead. Fouled away.
And just an addendum to that, Vin, the way the Giants took off running when it appeared that Matthews was even looking at him. I mean, they had him read so well. Just taken off.
A what to that?
Addendum.
That's the way they talk up on the hill?
That's the way they talk on the hill.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Addendum. Little Patsy and all the guys hear about that.
River's going to go bonkers.
Addendum. Oh, pardon me. 0-2 the count to Willie McGee. Huh.
Well, see if I'm going to look at your cerulean blue sky again.
1-2 the count to Willie McGee. Giants 6, Cardinals 3, top of the 6th inning.
Rogers not giving signs. He's just itching now.
Itching to win. 1-2 to McGee. Fouled away.
It must be something that you have such a reputation. You just scratch your head and they think, oops, that's a hit and run sign.
What's he doing
What's
now?
he doing now?
McGee with Terry Pendleton to follow, and then Ricky Horton's spot. Ground ball wide of first into right field. So McGee comes up with his 2nd hit. Willie is 2 for 3. And the batter will be Terry Pendleton. Hit number 1 off Price and number 7 for the Cardinals. Terry Pendleton lined out to short, tripled and scored on Russell's error in the 4th inning. That run put the Cardinals out in front 3-2. Once again, we remind our viewers we'll be selecting the NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game at the conclusion of the ball game. Line foul.
And if you think the Giants are taking it for granted, watch Brenly. Okay, it's 6-3, but he's still checking with Craig on every pitch as we see Jack Clark loosening up.
And as Clark tries to loosen up, and that's no mean trick here, Kelly Downs begins to loosen up in the Giant bullpen. 0-1 the count to Terry Pendleton. Breaking ball missed. 1 ball and 1 strike. Each side a run in the first, each side a run in the third. The Cardinals got a run in the fourth, and the Giants came back with 4. Started his swing. They're going to check it first. Swing, says Bob Engel.
Take a look at it. I don't know. That was close. I don't know about that one. I think I might have argued. It's a big man because you got the pitcher coming up next.
Oh, sure. 1 ball, 2 strikes. You have Clark, and then you have Lake, Pagnozzi, and Lawless, right-hand batters, but Clark would be the guide. Should Pendleton keep the inning alive, the pinch hitter would represent the tying run, and that would be the one chance for Herzog to get back in the game with Clark. 1-2. Got him. Big strikeout. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. And at the end of 5.5, 6-3 San Francisco. As you can see, it was a quiet morning at the Point, Candlestick Point, 7-mile-an-hour wind, but it changed from the northeast to the northwest, got up to 22. It is about 18 now, but gusts of wind up to 25 miles an hour.
You're looking at Norm Sherry talking to Joe Price, talking about that curveball, and I'm sure he's talking about just getting a little more rotation, but I would venture to say, Vin, he's talking about speeding it up a little bit because he's taking so much time to see the defense go back on their heels.
And the first pitch to Bob Brenly is low, ball 1, 1-0. You would assume this is Horton's last inning of work with the Cardinals down by 3, and he's to lead off in the 7th inning. We'll see. Rickey came in the game to pitch to Mike Aldretti, who hit a fly ball deep enough to left. It was almost blown over Coleman's head, and Aldretti picked up the RBI. 2-1. That was the third of the 4 runs that came over in the 4th inning. The 4th run came over when Robbie Thompson tripled in Jose Uribe. 3-1 to count. 6-3 Giants, bottom of the 6th. Kelly Downs is still throwing in the Giant bullpen as Brenly taps one to Pendleton. 1 away. The batter will be Jose Uribe, and we'll see whether Joe Price will come out on deck or whether they're really thinking about bringing in Kelly Downs. Well, Price comes out on deck and looks like he's in the game for sure. So here's Jose Uribe. Giants 6, Cardinals 3, 1 out, bases empty in the 6th. When the Cardinals come up in the 7th, Ricky Horton is due up, then Pena and Oquindo. 4-1. The Giants have kept it going, and Uribe was the middleman as the Giants turned in their 10th double play in the 5 games. There's a one-hopper backhanded by Pendleton. Oh, what a sweet big league play that was. Wow.
Oh, that's clinic time. Clinic time. He just could react to that. There's not much you can do at third base. Watch how hard that ball is hit. Short hop. Backhands it, turns around, knows he has it. And he's ready to throw, finds his target. Oh, if you want to be a third baseman, just videotape that.
Well, that'd make Nureyev proud. Look at this whirl. and up and at him. So 2 down, and Joe Price the batter. Little foul off to the right, out of play. You always wonder about a fellow like Joe Price, or for that matter any pitcher who is not much of a hitter. He's a left-hand pitcher. The last thing in the world you would think he should do is bat right-handed. Consequently expose that left arm upon which his economic past, present, and future is relied upon.
One more look at that great play. He just backhands it, and Ozzie watches it like the rest of us.
1-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I don't know why he's working on him.
Yeah, he really is. He's nibbling.
Yeah, Joe Price, the way he swung at that curveball, like you hadn't seen one for a while.
That'll do it. So Price strikes out, and thanks to Pendleton's dazzler at third, the Giants are retired in order. At the end of 6, it's 6-3 Giants. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. Game 5 of the 1987 National League Championship Series is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft, cold-filtered draft beer. It's as real as it gets. And by the Kellogg Company, makers of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. Tony's Flakes of corn with a sweet frosting. Well, you can look at the lineup cards. You can see different names being scratched out. Morris, the pitcher, and then you can see Tom Lawless will come up and bat for Ricky Horton. Ken Daly down in the pen, so Daly will be picking up. Ricky Horton went 3 innings and is charged with only giving up a hit and nothing else. The hit was a triple to Robbie Thompson in the 4th, but he was not charged with a run. Then he gave up a base hit in the 5th inning, so a total of 3 innings and just 2 hits. It is still 6-3 San Francisco. Lawless, Pena, and Oquendo due up in the 7th. Joe Price battling for a decision. Remember, Russell, the starter, did not go the required 5. And lined right at Kevin Mitchell. Boy, you can't ask more than that. Come off the bench and have a hack and hit a bullet right at the third baseman.
And the only thing Mitchell could do was catch it, and he did. He hardly had to move. Just kind of spread that left leg a little bit, and boom, there it was. And he's been making great plays in the 3rd game. Remember, Vince Coleman, the very first pitch of the game, and the Cardinals were talking about that play, saying how could he play Coleman that close to the line. So he's done it with the bat, he's done it with the glove. He's having quite a series.
1 away here in the 7th inning. Tony Pena singled and struck out. He got a base hit and came around to score in the 3rd inning. He made the last out, leaving the runner at second base in the 4th. 4-1. Jose Oquendo to follow. Giants 6 runs, 7 hits. Cardinals 3 runs, 7 hits. The Giants have a home run by Mitchell and a triple by Robbie Thompson and 3 stolen bases. The Cardinals, with 7 hits, have a triple by Pendleton and a double by Coleman and no stolen bases. That's one of the upsets of the series. The Giants with more stolen bases than the Cardinals. Giants have stolen 5 bases in the 5 games, and the Cardinals have been able to steal only 2. 2-1.
You know, to put that in focus, I wonder how many games Vince Coleman stole 2 bases in the same inning.
Sure. 3-1 to count. And he's aboard with a walk. So Pena on a 1-out walk will bring up Oquendo for Joe Price, the first walk he's issued.
Well, Elliott came up with it. Didn't take long. I have a card that says Vince Coleman has stolen 2nd and 3rd in the same inning 13 times this year.
And of course, when he did that last year one time, it was against the Giants, and that started the trouble and the fight and the Coleman and Krukow winding up on the DL. Strike to Oquendo. Kelly Downs is joined by left-hander Craig Lefferts in the Giant bullpen. Ken Daly throwing in the Cardinal pen.
Friendly checking and Roger going through the motions.
Jose Oquendo. He had 1 home run this year, and he hit it here in San Francisco. He started the other night and went 1 for 4, single. On the corner. So Oquendo is caught looking. That's the 3rd strikeout for Joe Price.
Remember Norm Sherry talking about that curveball. It was a big looping curveball. This one not quite as big. Goes right inside. Oquendo backs off, but he catches the inside corner.
It's the only ballpark in America where when a visiting player strikes out, you hear a guitar playing Aloha, the Hawaiian theme, to kind of serenade the hitter back to the dugout.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you something. That Brooklyn ballpark in those old days when they had that Brooklyn Symphony, man, you strike out there, you got a concert.
2 down. And Vince Coleman fouls it away. 0-1. For the Cardinals, they have not had a man get to second base since the 4th inning. And that man reached on an error and a wild pitch. They've had just 1 hit since. So the attack has stopped dead in the water. They've not really been heard from since Pendleton's triple. Now they're in the 7th, and the Giants holding firmly to a 6-3 lead. No balls, 1 strike.
Ben, I find it interesting that 6-3 lead and Brenly checking and Roger going through there, all the signs. You wonder what's going on. I think he's simply saying, boys, I am the boss, in a polite, firm way.
And you build up good habits.
Yes,
it becomes
sir.
reflex. You just
Yes,
look over
sir.
there all the time. 0-2. Got him. Joe Price has picked up his 4th strikeout. A man left, and at the end of 6.5, 6-3 San Francisco.
Dad.
This telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Boy, I'll tell you, a busy spot down on the field, right field for St. Louis. They started with John Morris, then they had Kurt Ford, then they had Jose Oquendo, and now they have Tom Lawless. So the Cardinals have used as many right fielders as they have pitchers. 4. The 4th one is warming up right now, Ken Daly. It's been Matthews, Forsch, Horton, and now Daly. You rarely would see Daly in this kind of a game with the Cardinals down by 3.
But what is he going to do?
So it is yet another tip-off on the shortage in the Cardinal bench. So Ken Daly will be pitching to Robbie Thompson, followed by Kevin Mitchell, and then Jeffrey Leonard. 6-3 Giants. We'll be moving on, heading for Busch Stadium in St. Louis Tuesday night. John Tudor and Dave Dravecky. Whether Whitey will have Jack Clark is very, very questionable. 8 o'clock tonight, Minnesota and Detroit. Robbie Thompson. Foul back. Robbie's had a pretty good day. Walked, stole second, and scored. Tripled in a run in the 4th. And started a double play. Bottom of the 7th inning. 6-3 San Francisco. Game 5. And did that get him? Yep. Just because he's running to first doesn't mean it hit him,
That's
right?
right. He did it the other night and then stopped, and the ball got by the catcher. They picked up a run, but this time he's going all the way. We'll take a look at it. No doubt about it. You can see Pena tip it off, too, as he turns his head. See him hit the foot.
So Robbie Thompson hit by the pitch. And Daly immediately pitching out of a stretch will work to Mitchell, Leonard, and Maldonado. Ball one. Mitchell checking with Zimmer. He singled in a run and homered.
I don't think the Giants are finished yet putting on plays.
There goes Robbie Thompson. Pitch out is swung out and missed, and Robbie is out from me to you. Perfect throw from Pena to Tommy Herr.
You had the feeling the way Robbie Thompson was acting down there. They're not taking anything for granted. It's 6-3. He's looking back. So it was a hit and run play. He was looking to try to find that ball, but man, he was out a long way. In fact, Herr had to almost go up and meet him.
So one down, 1 ball and 1 strike to Kevin Mitchell. Ooh, that's straightening you up if you're starting to look for the pitch outside.
Well, what that does is keeps you honest is what it does, because you're trying to take away the outside corner, and he moves you back as if to say, look, I want some of that outside corner too.
Remember, Ken Daly had that serious arm operation that has been called the Tommy John operation, and that pitch that moved Mitchell off the plate was 91 miles an hour. So obviously the operation was a huge success. Popped in the air. Going out is Herr. Coming in and over is Tom Lawless. 2 down, and Jeffrey Leonard coming up. When you talk about the Tommy John operation relating to the left-hander Ken Daly, he had the tendon transferred from his right forearm to his left elbow. Three other pitchers had the exact same operation: Tommy John, Joe Sambito, and Gary Lavelle, and Ken Daly. Here's Leonard 0 for 3. Flied to center, grounded to third, struck out. And promptly hits one to center. McGee coming up. And Daly has an easy inning. And at the end of 7, it's Giants 6, Cardinals 3. Smith, Herr, and Dreesen coming up. Game 5 right now, with the Giants apparently in control 6-3, makes you think of the meeting between Dravecky and Tudor Tuesday night.
You have to think about that, and I'm sure John Tudor is thinking about it, and Whitey's got his best guy going, because he is going to be tough, and Dravecky, you know what he did.
Well, after looking at Dravecky pitch that magnificent 2-hitter, you would have to say the Giants would be pretty heavily favored, even though it's the Cardinals' home ballpark.
Well, and that thing called momentum, you know, this is the kind of a game that you have to ride back and think about it, and it's got to hurt.
Eddie Milner now taking over in center field as the Giants trying to hold on to this 3-run lead. And that's a strike. Ozzie Smith, and he'll be followed by Tommy Herr. One and one to count. Joe Price trying to hold on to a 3-run lead and pick up the victory. 2 balls and 1 strike. Well, to all you folks who are watching the Seattle-Cincinnati game, Cincinnati winning at 17-10, welcome here to Candlestick Park in San Francisco. Ozzie Smith hops it up into the breeze. Will Clark. So the Cardinals really struggling now to generate any kind of an attack. They've had 1 hit since the 4th inning.
Look at Will Clark. I mean, he's staggering, and he caught it right in the heel of the glove, and he's saying to Robbie Thompson, you believe that? It was a routine pop fly, but he looked like he made a couple beers going under that one.
So 1 away in the 8th. Here's Tommy Herr, had a scoring fly ball, hit into a double play, and was thrown out on a good play by Robbie Thompson in the 6th inning. Fouled off first base and back into the seats. 0-1. So the Cardinals, who piled up some hits in a hurry, have suddenly just stopped. And Joe Price, the principal reason. He's allowed just 1 hit and 1 walk, and Price has struck out 4.
And then when you look at that scoreboard, every time the Cardinals scored, the Giants answered them. That's the inning they came back to score.
Right.
So the message is clear.
And then when Matthews was unable to go to the mound and Bob Forsch came out of there for a 4-run inning. Eddie Milner trying to get it in front of Hackman. And Milner makes the catch and gets a smile out of Leonard. Even though Leonard looked like he was calling, Milner said, hey, they just put me in here to catch these. So 2 down.
Your attention, please.
Jim Lindemann joining the illustrious rookies to hit home runs in the National League Championship Series. There they are. So Lindemann batting for Dreesen. Ball 1. So the Cardinals have not had a man to second since the 4th. They've had just 1 hit since the 4th. A 2-out single by McGee in the 6th. 1-1. Boy, what a lift for Roger Craig. He starts Russell, takes him out, and here's Joe Price pitching a gem, and he hasn't gotten into the so-called big guys in the bullpen.
On the heels of Kruko's complete game, so he's going to really have his staff well rested.
A little off-speed spinner, but he missed with it. 2-1. Six runs, 7 hits for the Giants. 3 runs, 7 hits for the Cardinals. We're in the top of the 8th. Two and 2 the count of Jim Lindemann. Remember, Price has 4 strikeouts. Fouled away. Now we'd like to welcome those of you who have been watching the Steelers and the Rams. The Rams beat the Steelers 31-21. Giants leading the Cardinals thanks to a 4-run 4th inning. And we're in the top of the 8th, 2-out bases empty. 2-2 the count. Joe Price pitching to the pinch hitter Jim Lindemann. Little foul off to the right and out of play.
Brenly has not been checking with Craig, so I wonder if that says something of how they feel on that Giant side. He's just looking right at the batter to see if he's not sneaking a peek and then giving a sign to the pitcher.
Two and 2 to Jim Lindemann. Got it. And needless to say, altogether, the price is right. And at the end of 7.5, 6-3, San Francisco. The Goodyear blimp sailing quietly over the eye of the storm, which is Candlestick Park. The attendance today, each day, was the largest crowd to see a baseball game. They had 57,997 last night, and you wondered how they could get 1 or 2 more people in. They got almost 2,000 more, and they're seeing Joe Price pitch a gem in relief. 59,363. And when you ask how in the world could you get 59,000 in here, they tell you they sold obstructed view seats in the football pavilion in right field. A reminder tonight at 8, Minnesota and Detroit, with Bob and Tony to give you every pitch.
Right fielder, Candy Maldonado.
Candy Maldonado, Chili Davis, and Will Clark. Maldonado struck out, flied out, and singled. 1 for 3. So Ken Daly working the 8th, as the Cardinals have almost run out of time in this one. Boy, you can bet Busch Stadium in St. Louis will be a sea of red, hoping that Jack Clark will start. But in talking to Whitey Herzog, you got the strong impression that he would not be able to start Tuesday night. Ball 2, 2-1. John Tudor and Dave Dravecky. Tuesday evening in St. Louis. Two and one. That's popped in the air, and
Tony don't see
lost
it. Tony doesn't see it.
Pendleton is going to try and help him and make the catch.
He did not have a clue. He didn't see it, and Pendleton really hustled. He looked up, and he had no clue. And I tell you, Vin, that's the most helpless feeling in the world, because 59,363 see it, and you don't. Look at Tony. He finally saw it, and Pendleton says, well, I'll take it. He makes a basket catch.
So with one down in the 8th inning, good backup of Pena by Terry Pendleton and Chili Davis, the batter. Davis hit the ball hard. McGee took a base hit away from him in the 1st inning. He singled a right and hit into a double play. Scott Gereltz is throwing down in the bullpen. So Eddie Milner finishing up for Chile in center. And remember, he took that ball away from Jeffrey Leonard. Eddie Milner, a rabbit in center field. 2-0. Pretty good fastball on the inside corner. 2-1. When the Cardinals bat in the 9th inning, Willie McGee, Terry Pendleton, and then Tom Lawless. 2-2.
You can see Pena has his fingers taped once again. He's in the shadow, so it is difficult to see the sign. So, as they always do, Tony tapes those fingers, and the pitchers have no problems.
Two balls, 2 strikes, and that just blows him away. So 2 down in the 8th. It looked like he gave him 2 and then 1 finger for the fastball, and here he comes with it.
He was overmatched.
So Ken Daly now pitching to Will Clark. Clark has struck out, singled to right, and lined out to right. Will hitting .444 in the championship series. Ground foul. When Clark singled in the 4th inning, it was his 8th hit. Jeffrey Leonard has 7. No Cardinal has that many. One and one to count. 2 out, bases empty. 8th inning, 6-3 San Francisco. Good breaking ball. 1 and 2.
Big breaking ball. And you could really see the sign as Tony gave it. He shook off the fastball and wanted the curveball. Coming back with it. Whoop, shook him off.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Will Clark. Down in the Cardinal bullpen, Joe McGrain is getting in some throwing, the big left-hander. 2-2. Breaking ball fouled away. John Tudor and Dave Dravecky Tuesday night. And of course all the pressure will be on John Tudor to keep his ball club's head above water. He's the player representative, and he's the one to represent the Cardinal hopes Tuesday evening. Dave Dravecky, with that brilliant 2-hitter, will be coming back for San Francisco. 3-2, the count to Will Clark.
Wants a new ball. That just didn't feel right to him. He's kind of squibbed out. You can see him twirl. Give me a new ball.
There's Dave Dravecky, leaning back, very relaxed. He'll be center stage Tuesday evening along with John Tudor. 3-2. And he walked him with a fastball. He thought it was strike 3. Daly was walking off the mound.
Giants
Here's that look again where he thinks it's strike 3 there, and he's saying, okay, got my
That's
man.
it.
That's it.
Pena thought it was strike 3, but Quick didn't.
So that brings up Bob Brenly. Brenly has walked twice and grounded out, 0 for 1. Clark with 2 out, held on by Jim Lindeman. Ball 1. To repeat when the Cardinals come up in the 9th. McGee, Pendleton, Lawless, and maybe Pena. 6-3 Giants. 2 balls and no strikes. On deck, Jose Uribe.
Brennan really took a long look at Zimmer. He's got the hit sign unless he gets the take. But you can bet he's got the green light to hit if he likes it.
They're going to check it first, but there was no swing. 3-0 the count. Now Mike Rourke is on his way out to talk to Daly.
You can always tell when Mike sees something because he leaves that bench here and he walks outside, and he saw something and was watching it from a little closer from behind home plate, and then he went trotting out there.
You know, it's interesting. We're talking Joe Price has done a magnificent job in relief for San Francisco, and Horton and now Daly have done well. The Giants have just 1 hit since the 4th inning.
This is the pitch they appealed on, and I would say he stopped. Sure, Bob Engel would like to know that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's really going to make his day.
Make his whole day that I agreed with.
3 balls and no strikes. Brenly, of course, has enough socks, so they might let him swing 3-0. Not outside ball 4. So 2 on, 2 out. Daly fighting his control a little bit. Remember, he hit Robbie Thompson in the 7th inning. Now he's walked 2 in the 8th. And Uribe the batter.
Do you know one year Jocko Conlon named me the worst umpire catcher?
Oh, really? You got the honor?
And the next year Smokey Burgess beat me out.
Jose Uribe hit into a force play, singled to drive in 2 runs in the 4th inning. That was a key hit. Later, he came around to score on a triple by Robbie Thompson after stealing 3rd. And then last time up, he lost a hit on a great play by Terry Pendleton. Fouled away. 0-1.
That happens a lot when you couple base on balls and the hitter swings at the first pitch, and what you really have to warn your pitchers not to let up. And I'll say this, Mr. Daly didn't let up. He just threw as hard as he could, and you can see Uribe did not get around on it.
On deck to bat for Joe Price is Chris Spire. Don Robinson, Craig Lefferts are down in the Giant bullpen. Breaking ball on the corner, strike 2. 0-2 to Jose Uribe. (6-3) Giants, bottom of the 8th. Daly just trying to keep them quiet. Chase that breaking ball in the dirt, so they'll record the out at first, and that's that. Daly picks up his 2nd strikeout at the end of 8. Giants 6, Cardinals 3. McGee, Pendleton, and Lawless coming up. A reminder tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, the Minnesota Twins and the Detroit Tigers. Meanwhile, the Cardinals and the Giants are not quite finished their day in the sun. It'll be Willie McGee, Terry Pendleton, and Tom Lawless due up against Joe Price. With Don Robinson and Craig Lefferts back of him, Price has worked 4 innings and would have gone out because if Uribe had kept the inning alive, Chris Spire was going to hit for him. Willie McGee grounded out, single to center, single to right. He has the last Cardinal hit. That was in the 6th inning. Their only hit since the 4th inning.
He just ran back and humming now. This is that hum baby business you hear about.
Joe Price has struck out 5 since picking up for Rick Russell. He has really put the brakes to the Cardinals. Foul back. You know, here's a fella comes in relief in what has been a scramble through the first 4 innings, and he allows just 1 hit. A couple of scores in the NFL. These are late final scores. Oh, 0-2 to Willie McGee. Got him. One away. A reminder, our executive producer of NBC Sports, Michael Weissman, the coordinating producer of NBC Baseball, Harry Coyle. Today's game produced by George Finkel, directed by Bucky Guntz. Ground ball to Uribe, and Pendleton jogging down the line.
Mr. Price is really in control.
Boy, he has allowed 1 hit and struck out a half a dozen. And he has put a frown on Vince Coleman's face as Joe Price is 1 out away from giving the Giants the advantage 3 games to 2. And standing in the way is Tom Lawless.
Tom Lawless.
Joe Price. Boy, has he been right. 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 1 hit. Right. And they are on their feet, this crowd. And Jack Clark is sitting down. And, of course, for the frustration of the Cardinals and their fans, the question of whether Jack can play Tuesday evening. Ground ball to Robbie Thompson. There it is. Getting 5s from his team, and the Cardinals, the thin gray-red line going back to the clubhouse, hoping to regroup for Tuesday night in their ballpark. And remember, interestingly enough, the Cardinals scored in the first inning, and the pattern has basically remained the same. The team that has scored first has lost 4 of the 5 games. We'll be back. The Giants beat the Cardinals 6-3. Joe Price is the winning pitcher, and somewhat fitting, we told you in 1980 he made his major league debut pitching 6 innings of shutout ball against the Cardinals. Well, today's NBC Miller Lite player of the game is Joe Price. Miller Lite happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Joe Price to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. Don't forget, tonight at 8, the American League, the Minnesota Twins and the Detroit Tigers, Frank Tanana and Frank Viola. We'll be back to Candlestick right after this. The 1987 National League Championship Series has been brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft, cold-filtered draft beer. It's as real as it gets. By the heartbeat of America, today's Chevy truck. By McDonnell Douglas, giving America its money's worth in aerospace and information systems. And by RCA, the most trusted name in electronics. A reminder to stay tuned for nightly news, followed by the 4th game of the American League Championship Series next on NBC. And a reminder that we'll be talking to you from Busch Stadium in St. Louis Tuesday night, Game 6, Dave Gravecki and John Tudor, with the Giants leading 3-2. For Joe Garagiola, this is Vin Scully from San Francisco, wishing you a very pleasant